Team Baxter.
So I'm opening bag B. Bag A was super well organized and went together pretty quickly and well. So anyway, same nice organization going on here. This is B1. So obviously I start with that. I like to put them in order so I can just grab them as I go. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. And they're even divided up. Bag 2 holds bag 2 1, bag 2 2. So it's just greatly organized. I wish that all kits came this well organized, but anyway. Time to get started on drive shafts. It appears that's the first step in the manual. So I'm going to get the drive shafts put together in the same manner as I put together the drive shaft in the previous step on bag A. And then looks like we can move right into the axle and the pinion from there. So instead of this drive shaft attaching to a proper end, it actually attaches to this odd pinion that they give you. And this gets installed directly into the axle housing. Right there, the bearing that's on the drive shaft goes right into that seating. So I'll go ahead and drop that in right now. It's not slipping in so easy, but there. So now that's seated very tightly. So now we get another bearing. The pinion goes in there, and the pinion actually gets screwed down onto this drive shaft with the countersunk screw. There it is right there. After all that, the locker and ring gear gets dropped right in on top of all of that, and then it gets all sealed up. I noticed something while building this drive shaft. In this style drive shaft, there's usually a grub screw that sits on top of that pin that's holding the actual piece in. They've seemed to have omitted this. I thought that I had forgotten to put it on, but I went back through the manual and it is indeed not included. They probably omitted it because people couldn't, or they couldn't figure out how to get it in there. It was a little difficult. Not sure how this is going to do. I mean, theoretically the pin is locked in and it shouldn't come out, but just noticed that they've omitted the grub screw. I mean, a lot of times the manufacturers will give you a solid block with the hole for a pin on the inside, but this is the one that has the threading for the grub screws. So we'll see how that goes. The pinion is screwed in now. Used quite a few layers of marine grease in between there. Now I'm ready to drop the locker in. I'm gonna forego the black grease here and use my red and tacky. I use marine grease as I do on all external points, anywhere where water could get in. I tend to run my trucks in quite a bit of water, and I don't think this one will be very different, especially with the height and size of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my marine grease and my red and tacky, just because they've worked so well for me in the past. Sure, this black grease that comes with the kit will work fine, but I used heavy grease, so I used quite a bit of this in the transmission. There's not a whole lot left anyway, so switching over to red and tacky and my in my axle gears, and I'll probably use red and tacky around the outsides, anywhere water can get in. I'll use marine grease, a little bit thicker and lasts a little bit longer. So there's a bag 2A with shims in it that need to go on your diff locker before you get it installed. I didn't see this bag. The manual doesn't talk about this bag, so I had to disassemble my axle and install those shims. So yeah, that wasn't fun. So as I'm doing this kit, just for my peace of mind, anywhere I can get a grub screw in these spinning connections, these drive shaft connections, I'm going ahead and installing grub screws. I know the pins aren't going anywhere. It's just for my peace of mind. I just feel a little better with the grub screw in there. A little bit of Loctite, kind of holding that pin in place. Even though the pin is trapped by the spring, I know it just helped me feel a little better. So I got the front axle shafts built. Pretty simple, straightforward setup. And now they go on to the knuckles and the C-hubs. It's still a pretty straightforward installation, except for these big, thick plastic hubs and knuckles. They seem pretty sturdy. Really thick plastic. They're not doing too much bending. I was able to cut the nylon, so it means they have a little bit of flex in them. I don't know, we'll see how they do. Pretty straightforward steering assembly. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that together. I got the steering assembly on both sides completed, all moving freely with these nice thick hexes with a pin that goes all the way through the hex. It's pretty unique. I haven't seen that before. Nice heavy thick hexes. Anyway, I got those built, and now these get seated in the axle that I built just before. They go in, and there's a square bit in the locker that holds this axle shaft, and then they get screwed in with a couple of countersunk screws. Here's the steering linkage that I'm getting ready to install on the front axle. It's a little bit unique in that the shorter rod that attaches to the servo is actually attached to the main rod instead of to the steering knuckle. So this will be interesting to see how it works. Pretty solid construction. A few metal ball ends going on in there, and a countersunk screw there to kind of allow a little bit of pivot. I don't think this will need to pivot much, but getting ready to get it installed. So that's the steering linkage.